Welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today we are tearing into some source material that honestly, it reads like a thriller. We're talking about a massive international police action against some really high-level fraudsters.
It's a serious topic, but it's an absolutely essential one. We're getting a rare look at the business of organized digital crime.
Specifically, these huge romance fraud networks.
Exactly. And the sources detail this really unprecedented level of cooperation. It shows just how complex it is to fight a crime when the victim's in one country and the bad guy is thousands of miles away.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The focus for us today is this huge logistical leap that law enforcement has taken. We have sources detailing a major FBI-led effort going right after these West African romance scam networks. We're going to look at the scale, the psychological methods, and the legal hammer that is now coming down.
And what's so fascinating here, is the sheer logistics. We're talking about U.S. authorities working hand in glove with security agencies in Ghana and Nigeria.
So this isn't just someone filing a report online.
Oh, not at all. This is a multi-continent operation. It's designed to completely dismantle these complex financial crime syndicates. And that commitment to cross-border justice, that's the real story.
That focus on cooperation really tells you everything about the scale, doesn't it? I mean, these aren't isolated scammers on a single laptop. The losses are just too big for that.
The sources are very clear. They call them large-scale romance scam fraud networks.
Large scale meaning what exactly? What kind of money are we talking about?
Tens of millions of dollars across thousands of victims. To pull that off, they have to operate like a corporation. They have different departments for tech, for accounting, and most importantly, for social engineering. It's industrialized deception.
And the sources are pretty specific about who's in their crosshairs. We know Americans are the primary victims, but they highlight one group in particular.
They do.
Yeah.
And it's just heartbreaking. While really anyone can fall for this kind of manipulation, the sources emphasize that these networks especially target the elderly.
Why them specifically?
They're actively looking for people who might be lonely, maybe they lost a spouse, and critically, people who often have more financial stability. Pensions, investments. It makes them high-value, long-term targets.
So they're not just spamming random emails. They're profile hunting on dating sites, on social media, looking for those signals of vulnerability.
Precisely. And the documents also clarify the geographical link. They note that Nigerian and Ghanaian nationals are tied to these specific networks.
Which explains why the FBI focused its cooperation in those specific regions.
You have to follow the criminal network, not just the money. The intelligence showed the command structure was in one place, while the victims and the money were largely in another.
Okay, so that's the who and the what. But here's where the sources get really interesting, the how. The mechanics of the deception, it's basically psychological warfare.
It is. It's incredibly evolved and it's structured. The sources lay out 3 tactical elements that they use to systematically break down a victim's defenses.
And this happens over weeks, maybe months, right?
Exactly. First, the foundation. Creating these highly detailed, fake online identities.
And we're not just talking about a blurry profile picture, I assume.
No. These have to be appealing, but also credible enough to explain why they can't meet in person.
So what kind of identities work best?
Think aspirational figures who travel. That gives them a built-in excuse. Military personnel deployed overseas, an engineer on a remote oil rig, maybe a doctor with an international NGO.
So there's always a reason they're far away.
Always. And the backstories are researched. They'll use stolen photos of real, attractive people, sometimes even create fake supporting documents to make it all seem legitimate. It's an investment to build that instant trust.
And that investment is what leads to the second part, the emotional manipulation. The sources talk about this, but how can someone be that manipulative so quickly?
The speed is terrifying. They use a tactic called love bombing.
Love bombing?
Yeah. They move to just intense, absolute dedication within days. They rush the relationship, claim they've found their soulmate, and build this accelerated bond that just bypasses all your rational thought.
So they're mirroring the victim's own desires back at them.
Perfectly. Creating this immediate, total emotional dependency.
And once that hook is set, that's when the third element comes in. The sources mention the specific use of promises of love or marriage.
Yes. And this is the masterstroke. The promise of a shared future, a wedding, retiring together. It reframes everything. Suddenly, the scammer's financial requests aren't a loss. They're an investment in their future happiness.
The victim becomes complicit in their own deception.
They do. because they're invested in the narrative. And that's when the inevitable emergency hits.
Right. So what are the common emergencies these sources list? They can't just be random. They have to fit the fake persona.
Of course, they're classic high-stakes crises, a sudden medical emergency for a child, severe business trouble where they need a quick loan to save a huge deal.
Or the classic one, I bet, is travel.
The most common. I need money for a visa or a plane ticket to finally come see you. But then there are unexpected taxes or fees. It's always framed as the very last hurdle before they're happily ever after.
And the victim is so emotionally invested, they feel responsible for solving the problem. That is just an incredible level of psychological engineering.
And that level of deception demanded an equally calculated response, which brings us to the crackdown.
The coordinated law enforcement action. This feels like a breakthrough.
It is. The sources show the FBI leading the charge, working with agencies in Ghana and Nigeria to trace the entire money laundering pipeline. It's about sharing intelligence to see the whole criminal enterprise.
So beyond just intelligence, what are the tangible results? Are they actually making arrests?
They are. The material is very specific. We've seen several high-profile suspects arrested in Ghana and other regions.
High profile, so not just the low-level money mules.
No, this is the key difference. The sources make it clear they're apprehending the organizers, the network heads, who are accused of running these multi-million-dollar operations.
Now, that sends a message that the whole structure is vulnerable right from the top.
And these arrests are happening both locally, within Ghana and Nigeria, and through this internationally coordinated action. Geographical distance is no longer a shield.
Which leads us right to the legal fallout. I mean, if the FBI is filing federal charges, that changes everything for these suspects.
It creates a massive legal problem for them. The sources confirm U.S. federal charges have been filed.
Under what laws?
Primarily things like the Wire Fraud Act, money laundering, conspiracy. These allow the U.S. to prosecute crimes that use American banking systems or target American citizens, even if the perpetrator is overseas.
But getting an arrest is one thing. Extradition can be incredibly complicated. What do the sources say about actually getting them to the U.S. for trial?
That's the next big step. Our sources indicate that some of these high-profile suspects are facing extradition.
So the diplomatic channels are working?
It seems so. It requires solid treaties and local courts willing to honor the U.S. charges. The fact that the Department of Justice is pursuing this so aggressively shows how seriously they're taking it.
And if they are extradited and then convicted, what kind of penalties are we talking about here?
We're talking severe penalties, the kind meant to deter organized crime. The sources say those convicted in the U.S. could receive long prison sentences, potentially decades.
Decades, okay.
Yeah. Federal sentencing for fraud of this magnitude is prosecuted very aggressively. This is not a slap on the wrist. It's a career-ending, life-altering consequence.
That really puts the whole thing in perspective. But here's a question. If the money is already gone, laundered, what good is a prison sentence to the victims? Is there any talk of restitution?
That's a crucial point. Financial recovery is a huge part of closure for victims. And while getting back 100% is, frankly, rare in these cases, the sources do indicate asset seizure is a central part of these cases. They target property, luxury cars, bank accounts tied to the organizers. The goal is to cripple the network's financial engine and return whatever is possible to the victims.
So the core takeaway here is that these aren't just lone wolves. This is sophisticated, organized cyber fraud.
Highly organized criminal enterprises. And the sources prove that robust international cooperation is the only way to dismantle them. Geography is no longer a shield.
It's vital information for anyone navigating our world today.
Absolutely.
And that leads us to a final thought for you to consider, based on what we've seen in these sources. This operation against West African romance scams created a highly effective model for international cooperation, for pursuing federal charges and extradition across borders.
A very effective model.
So, if this legal and logistical model works so well against high-volume financial fraud, what might this mean for the future of fighting other complex digital crimes? Things like massive ransomware attacks or identity theft rings where the criminals and the victims are almost always in different countries. Something for you to mull over. We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.